Hello and welcome to this quick guide on how to consider someone's first experience in Crayta when you're building your game. So when someone starts their first ever game in Crayta, they could start in the hub like many players before them, or they might find themselves starting within a game or going straight in there through some kind of link or through Facebook Gaming. So we need to consider that some people will be arriving in our game and they might not yet know anything about how to move around, jump, crouch, slide, and all of the other inputs that we tend to take for granted. So it's worth considering when you're designing your level, especially a shooting game like this one in my Villa TDM remix, where you're going to spawn new players that are first arriving into the game to make sure that they're not immediately getting killed and to give them a really great experience so that they come back to your game again and again. You might notice that in the game tab in the very bottom here we have these default tutorial settings, and essentially what this means is that if your game uses your player character as normal and involves all of these kind of actions including moving, camera, jumping, sprinting, crouching and mantling, if these are all things that players can do in your game, then it would be a good idea to leave these checkboxes checked and just make sure that when players are being spawned for the first time in your game, they're being spawned into a place where if they need to go through these quick tutorials, they're not going to necessarily be immediately killed. Like in this team deathmatch, for example. So maybe like make a little area for them to practice these before they jump into the game proper. Or if your game isn't to do with player moving around at all, let's say you're making something that uses some of the voxels and you're moving around as a collection of meshes or voxels and you're not really doing much to do with the player character themselves, then it might be a good idea to actually go in here and just uncheck these boxes. If these movement tutorials bear no resemblance to how the player moves or interacts with your game, then it will just be confusing, especially if you're not spawning their character in front of them. So uncheck those if your game doesn't feature the player character and doesn't have any movement, but make sure they're checked and consider how someone who's brand new to Crayta might be experiencing the tutorial in your game. So it's probably a good idea to make a little area and just let them have a little run around and make sure that they're familiarized before they dive into shooting each other or jumping over obstacles or riding sharks or whatever you have in store for them. I look forward to playing your games involving sharks for some reason in Crayta.